Oh my gosh, I am so excited. Do I have what it takes to review Rush 2112? Hey everybody, welcome to the Ultimate YouTube channel. It's your girl Rosalie. This is so freaking powerful. Guess what time it is? Let's keep this short and simple, but I had to come on here. So often we're stuck in our own little world, but it's all so much bigger than we realize. I'm nervous, I'm excited. Listening to this band over the last several months has humbled me, has made me feel smarter, has exposed me to a world of music that I had not ever experienced before in that way. And now I want to finally dive into the album you have been waiting for, the album review you have been asking me for. I was looking into some of the background just a little bit to prepare myself, but I did not dive too deep into what this album is about because I want to look at this with fresh eyes, analyze this, bring you value. Will I be as mind blown by this album as all the other pieces of music by Rush I've listened to so far? We'll find out. Before we dive in, would you consider supporting me for my Tap Cancer Out Jiu-Jitsu tournament, my second competition ever? And I am excited to participate in this event because of what it stands for. I have lost several family members to cancer, and participating in this competition is my way of not only honoring their memory, but bringing awareness to this community, to people who have suffered from cancer, who have lost someone to cancer, and finding a practical way to support organizations. You can find more information about the Tap Cancer organization below in my description, where it goes into detail about who the proceeds go to. Any money that you donate will not go to me. It will go to these organizations. Even just $1 would be so wonderful. If you can't give, I completely understand. Then maybe consider sharing the link and somebody you know can give. But even just $1 or $2 would be so greatly appreciated so I can compete and represent you guys out there. Thank you so much. I'll keep you posted along the journey. And if you have any more questions about it, let me know in the comments or reach out to me directly. Let's dive in to Rush 2112. Okay, I'm gonna go back just a little bit. I feel like there's something happening here and it's changing. But before we go any deeper or even deeper into the storyline, this is the overture. I hope I'm saying the word right. And it's basically, the meaning of overture is that it's this introduction, as you often find with in an orchestra or in some type of play, where you have the introduction into something, almost like the prelude, that thing that's building up before we have the main event, if you will. It's the appetizer, for lack of a better word. And it sounds like it to me. It's this instrumental piece, but that in and of itself is already so rich. It's almost like you go to a really fancy restaurant, but even the appetizers are so decadent and beautifully aligned and so saturated with flavor that you're mind blown at the fact that this is not even the entree yet, and the main dish. And so this ride here is already so diverse, from the electric guitar solo to the time signatures of the drums to the sci-fi, almost siren-like sounding elements, to the echo. I mean, honestly, very much ahead of their time, for one, considering when this was released. But then also just this introduction that paints a picture. Sometimes nowadays, in our swulture, as I call it, the swipe culture, I think sometimes, and this may be me, this may be others, we take for granted these elements in music, right? We watch a movie and we may forget that this scene would not be the same without the background music, the classical composition. It could be with vocals or without, lyricless, just a piece of instruments, a couple of instruments, a whole melody. It changes how a clip impacts us. It changes completely the message of the song. You could have the same visuals, the same clip. Now you add some type of completely different song and it would make the entire footage feel different. It would change the whole message. Music is powerful. And I think sometimes we take for granted these parts that go into leading up to something. We may focus on the lyrics or the main singer, the front singer, or we may focus on the biggest part of the song, the crescendo or the chorus, right? We wait for the bridge, we wait for the drop when we're talking about EDM and modern day music that has a certain crescendo beat. You know, it's easy to take for granted all the work and the details that go into what's leading up to the story. We haven't even dove into the main story yet, but there's already a picture that's being painted, and it's a complete ride in and of itself. Powerful. I'm going to go back just a little bit because I feel like things are changing right now. We're switching up with time signatures again. But even within the first 3 minutes, this introduction, this overture has us on a ride. Even one more thought, the different genres. It feels like in the first 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, even the music even changed in a way that it made me feel like different genres, taking me from the sci-fi and from the synth feeling to going full classic rock to orchestral elements, almost sounded like the guitar and the drums and the bass were playing with one another as if representing an orchestra. And the, not strings per se, but this string-like feeling of that drama that's coming in. To then going to classic rock and just shredding it with the guitar. It's exciting. First, I thought it sounded like thunder before I go back, but now it sounds like almost like a rocket maybe taking off. Or an explosion. That's a Bible verse. The meek shall inherit the earth. Part of the Beatitudes of Jesus on the Mount, the Sermon on the Mount, where he goes, blessed are those who are, peacemakers, etc. The meek shall inherit the earth. Very interesting. When I'm looking at that type of statement, without perhaps the context of this album, just as a statement in and of itself, to me it implies this idea that those who are humble, those who are righteous, those who are humble will eventually remain. They will inherit the earth. They will be those who inherit what we've been given, this planet, right? Our arrogance, the saying goes, pride comes before the fall. Our arrogance will destroy us. Those who are meek will receive the inheritance, which is what's something we all would want, right? The inheritance, what's left over, if it's worth keeping and leaving over. But to have such a musical composition and that contrast between just that line and this whole composition is very interesting because it took us on the ride and now it ends with a somber reflection. His voice. Stop. I'm going back real quick. Let's talk about that for a second. The Temple of Syrinx. Guys, you guys know we're all about the psychology here. So where you have a channel that may go into the vocal ability, and that's a whole topic in and of itself, and you have a vocal coach breaking down that performance, or the musical composition from a professional musician who knows how to play drums professionally and knows the intricacies of the e-guitar. Our focus here a lot of times is the psychology, both of the lyrics as well as the composition. How does this impact us? How can music benefit our mental health, etc.? The philosophies behind it. And what I'm struck by right now, just without going even into the lyrics, is the musical composition, the crescendo, the da-da-da-da-da-dun, I butchered that, right? The crescendo, the time signature of the drums in contrast with the e-guitar and the bass. It creates this feeling of urgency. It's not a ballad. It's not full of strings and wind and wood instruments that have us feeling at ease. At least not me. It is incredibly entertaining. Geddy Lee's voice is on another level. I mean, that type of rock, those voices are hard to come by these days. That 70s, 80s rock, men that can sing at that level, that type of vocal range, being able to hit those high notes with precision without ruining your voice. A level of, in Germany, we would say schrill, but not schrill in the sense of like harsh and sharp, but in the sense of there's that grit to his notes, even when he's singing, the way he's tapping into it, the way that he can open up his voice and tap into that feeling that just has you going, ow, like a good electric guitar solo or a good bass line or just an amazing drum solo, right? It makes you go, ooh, and that's what his voice alone does. It makes you have to pay attention. It's like this type of a person, a song, a feeling where somebody shows up and they command the room. You have to pay attention. And then you have the whole composition. And again, it feels like an urgency. It's not a ballad. It's not lulling us into some type of entertained sleep. It's keeping you sharp and awake. That's the impression that I'm getting, the psychology behind it, the feeling that this type of composition has on me. And it may affect you differently, right? That's the thing with psychology even, is that as we're studying the psyche, the mind, our experiences, feelings, and perception play a role in how we see things. And that's where conversations are fun. So talk to me in the comments. That's just the musical composition alone. But then to look at the whole idea of the lyrics, right? We're creating this sci-fi dystopian feeling. And by the way, Peart, God, don't come after me in the comment sections. Neil Peart. I hope I finally say it right. I get it right in some videos and I get it wrong because I'm so focused on what I'm trying to say. Peart says, supposedly, if I saw correctly, that he credits a Russian-American novelist named Ayn Rand, inventor of the philosophy of objectivism, and an author of a dystopian fictional novel called Anthem. He credits her, is that a him? The plot of which bears several similarities to 2112. And this novel, good Lord, is by Ayn Rand. I am not sure. Let's see. Is this... Yes, her pen name is Ayn Rand. She was a Russian-born American writer and philosopher. Nice. And she focuses on objectivism, but her novel is also a dystopian fictional novel published in 1938. And the elements are secrets hidden by harsh government control, an illusion of a utopia covering the people, and an inquisitive main character who questions society's morals and practices. So Peart credits some of those ideas and concepts to her. So that's the backstory. But when we look at the Temple of Syrinx, it makes me think of this something glorious, right? We know of temples and pyramids and places that have ties to ancient culture, which many of us respect and admire. And from a psychological standpoint, I believe some of the reasons why we're so mesmerized by that, in addition to many reasons, is that it allows us for an element of infinity, timelessness, immortality. When I can study history, when I can be in a place where people walked, when I can be in a location where heroes have trod, where warriors have fallen, when I can dive into the past, there's something about feeling connected to something bigger than myself, which may be comforting in face of death anxieties and existential fears, in face of our search for meaning in this world, as Frankl, in his book, The Meaning of Life, focuses on. There's something powerful about looking into the future, right? Some of us are intrigued by sci-fi movies that look at the end of the world type of spiel, or that look into sci-fi and universe and man and aliens and cowboys versus aliens. And we're looking for various stories, and we often find realistic fiction where there's marriages between fiction that is definitely made up as of now and realism. We find things that are, it pulls us in, being able to travel into the past and the future. We wish we could be transient like that. I think it's a way of dealing with our transience and how we are, not able to time travel, if you will, and we're finite. Anyways, I don't want to get too deep or get too off topic, but even just hearing that title, The Temples of Syrinx, is such a powerful, commanding title. It makes me think of these type of theories about existentialism and our desire to look into the past, but also grasp the future. And so I see a contrast here of having a title like that sounds ancient and old and historical, but yet it's a movie about something futuristic. In the beginning, on the Rush.com website says, the massive gray walls of the temples rise from the heart of every Federation city. And that to me makes me also think of the song, The Red Barqueta, Barqueta, that I reviewed, and where you have this sci-fi feeling and you have this contrast between a person who wants to be free as well as the control and the futuristic government and regulations. I've always been awed by them, to think that every single facet of every life is regulated and directed from within. Our books, our music, our work and play are all looked after by the benevolent wisdom of the priests. I think too, just looking at some of Rush's other songs like Limelight and Free Will, I find them to be very open-minded and very critical thinkers, which would make sense if they were intrigued by, by the objectivism philosophy by this author who wrote the Anthem book. I do find them to, in some of their songs lyrically, to lean towards that type of critical thinking and questioning of government, of religion, right? The idea of free will, of you make your own, choices, you decide. Here, I feel like the wisdom of the priest, in addition to this being this whole sci-fi journey and storyline in and of itself, I find that also possibly to be critical of religion and these priests, literal priests and figures in various religions who often speak on behalf of God, or who have told people in history, I know what's good for you. I know which books you should or shouldn't read. I know which music is good for you or isn't good for you. From within, everything being regulated. So in addition to certain religions teaching that God is regulating it all, and Rush maybe perhaps leaning on humans' free will and choice, here this idea being the priests, right? These people who are supposed to be mediator between God and man. The lyrics then say, we've taken care of everything. The words you read, the songs you sing. It sounds like total control. The way it's worded, though, sounds reassuring, right? When a person says, I've taken care of everything, it sounds kind of nice. If someone came to you and said, I've paid your bills, I went to work for you today, don't worry, just relax, go stay home and game, have a steak, watch a movie, or for some of the ladies, I've paid for the nails and the massage, here's money to go shopping, I've taken care of it all. How many of us wouldn't be like, heck yes? But we have to be careful, because that utopian, intriguing lure is actually possibly a trap. The pictures that give pleasure, that was powerful because it makes me think of moving pictures. Rush is freaking brilliant. The moving pictures that give pleasure to your eye, one for all and all for one. Work together, common sons. Right? It sounds very communistic. It sounds very much like, in theory, certain parts of various political systems sound intriguing, but in practice, they don't seem to work, because someone's going to end up dictating and controlling, and now we're all screwed. We are the priests of the Temple of Syrinx. Our great computers fill the hollowed halls, and that is awesome, because it makes me also think of Loki. You guys know the Avengers and the whole series, between Marvel and DC, but particularly Marvel, I believe. There too, this line, our great computers in the hollowed halls. Beautiful alliteration, hollowed halls, hollowed being fitting to the idea of a priest and religion, like the Lord's Prayer, hallowed be thy name. Shout out to Iron Maiden, check out that reaction. Crazy, blew my mind. We have language here that makes you think of halls of temples, where you would go to find peace, where you would go to bring your sacrifice, but they're covered in temples, the great computers. And it makes me think of Loki and this idea of a god who is, it plays into all of that, but it makes me think of God and computers and machines. I think, is it the timekeepers in Loki who end up being, I think, some type of robot or computer or whatnot. It just mind-blowing. Very, very mind-blowing. Beautiful, poetic, profound. Look around this world we made. Equality, our stock in trade. Our stock in trade, right? When we're looking about stocks and trading, you invest money hoping that you're going to reap a profit. Equality, that word, oh my goodness, because that is something we long for. We long for equality. Women have fought for it. Various races have fought for it. But for some reason, we struggle with that in in the real world. We struggle with finding that balance, and then we have conversation about the difference between equality and equity. But for some reason, it's not quite what I think we're actually looking for, right? We have this longing for a utopian world, but it comes at a cost. Complete switch now in composition. Calming down a little bit. High in hand. Discovery. I believe that's next. Unless this is still part of... This may still be the Temples of Syrinx. It sounds peaceful. Water rushing. Yeah, next comes Discovery, I believe. Behind my beloved waterfall, in the little room that was hidden beneath the cave, I found it. That's what it says on Rush.com. I brushed away the dust of the years, picked it up, holding it reverently in my hands. I had no idea what it might be, but it was beautiful. Soothing, calming. Just the guitar, the single finger picking of chords, of strings. I learned to lay my fingers across the wires and to turn the keys to make them sound differently. I had no idea what it might be, but it was beautiful. Did he find a guitar or an instrument? To turn the keys to make them sound differently. Like when you're tuning a guitar. Hold on, let me pause. Let me stop talking over this music. This doesn't feel right. Listen, I learned to lay my fingers across the wires to turn the keys to make them sound differently. As I struck the wires with my other hand, I produced my first harmonious sounds. He found a guitar, didn't he? Soon my own music. This must be somewhere in the future, but he found a guitar somewhere in a cave. How different it could be from the music of the temples. I can't wait to tell the priests about it. Oh, snap. I don't know if you should. Let me go back a bit. It almost sounds like tuning here. Random finger picking. Becoming familiar with the guitar. Isn't that what it sounds like? Yeah, like this exploration, this discovery of the instrument. It almost sounds like a childlike innocence. It makes me think of when my kids are playing with my guitar. And now it's coming together. The harmonious playing. Gosh, imagining discovering music like this for the first time.
What can this strange device be? When I touch it, it gives forth a sound. It's got wires that vibrate and give music. What can this thing be that I've found?
The way he fell with his notes as he's singing about the notes falling. That descent of the note progression. Sad hearts and joyous screams. That's what music does. All of the emotions. With just one instrument alone. The drums tying into the beginning.
I know it's most unusual.
Okay, we're tapping into presentation now. Before we go there, what I'm taking away from this is this innocent, like childlike discovery of something. Almost like makes me think of my 1.5-year-old that goes up to my acoustic guitar and just plays, and sometimes tries to throw toys into it or bang against it. But there's something about when you don't know something, when something is new to you, there's a different appreciation for it. The first time you may try ice cream, the first time you hear music. And I love that they took the concept of this dystopian, utopian novel and these philosophical concepts, but brought in this feeling of not just anyone, any main character questioning the government and coming in with their own ideas, but particularly from the angle of music. Of course, music is representative of many things, of a person questioning political views, of a person questioning religion, of a person standing up and saying, hey, something's not right with what's going on here. It can be representative of many things, but the way that he's singing, even his voice, very different, stark contrast, his vocal performance to the Temples of Syrinx, which was very which was very powerful force, a lot of forte. Here with Discovery, it sounds softer. The little bit of rasp that he's bringing in, it sounds reflective. And this type of innocence is beautiful to witness, especially by Geddy Lee and Rush as a whole, because it's so in contrast to the expert musicians they are. They are deep into music. And it's beautiful to see that, an innocence through the eyes of someone who has been doing music for a long time. To be able to convey that type of newness, even though you're very familiar with music as an artist, like so, is powerful. Let's listen to the next one. This is the presentation, and here the quote is, in the sudden silence, and this is what I'm finding on Rush.com, in the sudden silence as I finished playing, I looked up to a circle of grim, expressionless faces. Father Brown rose to his feet, and his somnolent voice echoed throughout the silent temple hall. Interesting, because we have those echoes in the beginning during the overture. Instead of the grateful joy that I expected, there were words of quiet rejection. Instead of praise, sullen dismissal. I watched in shock and horror as Father Brown ground my precious instrument to splinters beneath his feet. Gosh, the presentation. The drums here, it's a red thread. It's a red thread.
I know it's most unusual to come before you so, but I found an ancient miracle I thought that you should know. Listen to my
Ooh, that bass line. Did you hear that? No. I'm sorry. Don't be mad. We're going back just a second. Did you hear that bass line? The guitar and the bass here. I often speak of the drums, but that line, dong, 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 dong. Oh, nice. Let me go back a bit and make sure I have my lyrics pulled up. Here we go. Just a little bit. Listen to this. The vibrato. I love these melodies.
Listen to my music and hear what it can do. There's something here as strong as life. I know that it will reach you.
As strong as life, yes.
Yes, we know it's nothing new. Just a waste of time. Have no need for ancient ways. The world is doing fine. Another toy, help destroy. Now the race of man. Forget about your silly ways.
stop before we keep going to the Oracle, the dream. This is profound. Couple of things. I love how Geddy Lee and how even the musical composition changes between the main character speaking, when he is speaking, sharing the instrument in front of the priests, versus when they're speaking, and that shrill and the high and the harder rock. It becomes more intense. The drums kick in harder, the crescendos takes it up a notch, and it's a contrast to, it sounds much more aggressive. It's a contrast to the main character speaking, saying, wait a minute, what could we do with this? And it's beautiful, beautiful storyline, right? Just imagining someone in the presence of all these priests who act, think, and behave like they have it all figured out and want to control it all. And this person with their innocence, with their excitement for something beautiful they've discovered. When it comes to interpreting this, because I've noticed, even with some of the other songs, how they're as fitting as always, as relevant as ever. Even here, I find that, the relevance. But I will say, I feel like the relevance in our day and age goes both ways. I can see people saying this is exactly what's happening in real time. You have those who are trying to bring in something new mindsets, new trends, new ways of thinking, new ways of life. And the older generation, or the more conservative, or the ones stuck in their ways, are the priests going, no, we have it all figured out. We know nothing new. This is a waste of time. We had gotten rid of the old for a reason. Don't bother us with this. It's an average thing. It's a waste of time. Don't annoy me any further. And there's validity to that, right? To those who come along, the next generation, the younger generation, newer music, right? We find that even in the comment section on social media, people going, modern day music is not music at all. I know what real music was like. You guys don't know. And so older generation, younger generation have been fighting with one another. That's not a Gen Z and millennial concept. Even back in the day, the 60s. I mean, plenty of people's parents who are now parents and grandparents, plenty of their parents and grandparents looked with dismay and shock on what was going on even in the 60s. It's not new, this concept between young and old. And I think that is because the uncertain scares us. That's one reason, I think. What is unfamiliar scares us. I do also think that it can tap into our existential fears because we don't want to die out. And if I know that my child, my children, the next generation may remember something of mine, may carry on my legacy to a degree, my values, then maybe I'm less dead. Then maybe I can live on through their memory. But when the next generation comes along and says, y'all are old, we forget about you, your music doesn't matter, that's concerning, right? Even here in the comment section, I find people going, how can you not know and really be familiar with Led Zeppelin? And people worry that the next generation won't appreciate music. And I think one reason, among others, could be that fear of dying out with it. Something not only we ourselves as individuals, but as a whole, as a group of people, a whole genre of music. We don't want things to go extinct. We don't want to go extinct. We don't want the music we love to be lost and forgotten. We don't want animals to go extinct. The idea of something dying out to never be again, to not be remembered, or to be so altered that you can't recognize the original, that scares us. But as much as people may want to take this and say, yep, that's fitting. It's happening right now. Liberal versus conservative, left versus right. The left wants to bring in compassion and inclusivity and diversity. And the right, they're the ones being old-fashioned, those priests that are saying, no, leave me alone. But I will say, I do think it goes both ways. You have that part of the conversation. Yes, relevant as ever, even now. But it goes the other way around. You have people who may go, hey, I found something ancient. I found something that we used to do. Family values, right? Was more often looked like as a far right conservative value. Family values, the father being in the home, a husband and a wife. I found something ancient that used to be common that we no longer do in our modern day age of dating and promiscuity and freedom for all. This is ancient. I discovered this in the waterfall. This may actually be good for us. And just as much we can say vice versa, we may have a people group on the, just for stereotype purposes, just to generalize, for simplification, we may have people on the left that are more liberal going, miss me with those ancient concepts, miss me with your conversations about the family, the core family and family values and morals and modesty. That's old fashioned. That's an ancient tool. We needed those old people to die out. We needed the patriarchy to die out. And so I feel this is very relevant as ever. Both ways. One people group, not just the left versus the right or the right versus the left, but people in general, psychologically having this tendency to shun what is different, to be tribal and side with one group or the other. Social media enhances that polarization greatly. And to feel like, I know I have something that could help us, and the other group going, miss me with that. Beautiful composition, just storytelling, a whole dialogue going on over here. We're continuing, and now we're going to have the Oracle, the Dream. What a ride. Whew. back a little bit. This is taking off now. Sounds like anger in my mind. Tension, grief, wailing. Oh my gosh. Alex Lifeson is a machine. Woo. Wow. Woo. I'm not sure if that still belonged to... That must have still belonged to presentation, didn't it? Because the video on the Rush YouTube doesn't have chapters. Now this must be the Oracle the dream. I guess it was a dream, but even now it all seems so vivid to me. Clearly yet I see the beckoning hand of the Oracle as he stood at the summit of the staircase. Hold on, what does it say? I see still the incredible beauty of the sculptured cities and the pure spirit of man revealed in the lives and works of this world. I was overwhelmed by both wonder and understanding as I saw a completely different way to life, a way that had been crushed by the Federation long ago. I saw now how meaningless life had become with the loss of all these things. Wow. To me, that philosophy, that concept implies that those are the things that make life meaningful. We long for meaning. In our search for hope and meaning, we look for a purpose. Give me a reason. Tell me this is not all relative. Tell me this is not all for naught. And so when we see people's beauty, the sculptures, the spirit of man, diversity, even conflict, that's the thing. Even conflict, even differences, the duality between dark and life, between life and death, between young and old, that's what makes life life. And when you have one federation controlling it all, when you have a utopia of complete uniform, beauty gets lost. It's like what we learn as children. Well, not what we learn as children, but I just recall having my students write opinion pieces on uniform versus not, right? You have these conversations even as children and teenagers, you know, how much uniform should we have? How much is there beauty in simplicity and just all doing the same thing and having the same thing? And how much does individuality get lost? How do we find the balance in that dance between individuality and collectivism? I hope I'm not talking too fast for you guys. I don't want to make this video too long, but this is a ride.
Through silent streets and fell into a fitful sleep. Escaped to realms beyond the night. Dream, can't you show me light? Night. Dream, can't you show me light? I stand atop a spiral stair, and Oracle confronts me there. He leads me on light years away through astral nights, galactic days. I see the works of gifted hands that grace the strange and wondrous land. I see the hand of men arise with hungry mind and open eyes. They left our planets long ago. The elder race still learn and grow. Their power grows with purpose strong to claim the home where they belong. Home to tear the temples down. Home to change.
Meine Fresse, my goodness. Listening to this feels like I'm watching a movie with the most amazing composition. This dream is phenomenal. I wandered home through the silent streets, right? After all this confrontation with the priests. Dream, can you show me the light? I need, some type of revelation. Escaped realms beyond the night. Beautiful poetry here. Okay, dream world where our minds can be open and we can imagine a different world, a different possibility. I stand atop a spiral stair. That kind of makes me somehow think of that Bible story where Jacob is the angels are descending and ascending down the stairs to heaven, though it's not really a spiral stair. But it makes me think of this. A spiral stair, I think, makes me think of this longing for something that is above and beyond us, reaching something that we may be able to ascend, or something that could descend and change us in some way. Escape to realms beyond the night. That we said that. He leads me on light years away. Okay, so we're talking sci-fi, but we're talking this oracle that takes you far away into a different realm through astral nights, galactic days. Oh, beautiful poetry. I see the works of gifted hands grace this strange and wondrous land. Beautiful. I mean, gifted hands. Who are these gifted hands? A strange and wondrous land. This is a whole new world, right? I see the hand of man arise. Interesting. With hungry mind and open eyes. Beautiful. Someone who has a hungry mind is eager to learn. Hungry to understand, open eyes, right? It's one thing to have a hungry mind and to consume. It's another thing to do so with open eyes. If I have a hungry mind, I want to learn, but I'm blind to what's around me, I may just consume what works for me, right? If I have closed eyes, if I'm blind to different possibilities, different opinions, different people, cultures, and languages and ways, I may have a hungry mind. I want to learn, but I may just be all about learning what I want to learn, right? We find that on social media. The algorithm helps. We look at something. Now the algorithm feeds us more of the same thing, and our bias confirmation is reinforced. So if my eyes are closed, I may be hungry, but I may just keep eating the same thing. I may just keep reading and learning and studying what I already believe. And it could be false, but I'm reinforcing it and I'm getting that bias confirmation. They left the planet long ago. The elder race still learn and grow. Earlier, the priest said we needed to get rid of what was before, the elder. But here in this other world, the elders actually are there. They're learning and growing. Power grows with purpose strong. Their power grows with purpose strong. Power without purpose is dangerous, right? When you have a lot of power, a lot of money, a lot of influence, but you have no purpose. For one, even as the verse says, a man without a vision perishes. When you have no goal, you just wither away. But also when you have power and no purpose, no vision for it, you may not care what your power can accomplish. Let me keep listening. Here we go. Back to the waterfall. Now, here it says, I have not left this cave for days now. It has become my last refuge in my total despair. I've only the music of the waterfall to comfort me now. I can no longer live under the control of the Federation. But there is no other place to go. My last hope is that with my death, I may pass into the world of my dream and no peace. And no peace at last. The beautiful waterfall. Soliloquy. This makes me think of a psalm. In the Bible there's psalms. Let me rewind. This makes me think of psalms. In the Bible there are psalms where David would run away into caves when he was being persecuted, and these poems and songs are written sometimes in deep despair. And here I'm seeing this somber, this a person who's somberly reflecting and distraught, trying to find solace somewhere. Let me keep playing. This is peaceful now. I needed this. It's taking us on a ride.
The sleep is still in my eyes. The dream is still in my head. I heave a sigh and sadly smile and lie a while in bed. I wish that it might come to pass, not fade like all my dreams. Just think of what my life might be in a world like I have seen. I don't think I could carry
That was scary. That was eerie. I don't know if there's much that can convey despair like an electric guitar solo, and that in particular. There was so much soul and blues feeling in that solo at the end of Soliloquy. I can't get track with some of these words in my brain. My mind is blown, you guys. That e-guitar solo was fire. So much despair, so much grit, so much passion. Oh, putting beautifully in words what the lyrics were saying. I don't think I can carry on. I'm longing for that dream. I wish that world was real. I wish that utopia was the one I was living in, not this controlled federation. And then in the grand finale, the time signatures, Neil Peart on another level. It switched up. He was getting crunk. Oh my gosh, that was fire. That was incredible. And this was before beats and before auto-generated just tracks, you guys. This is a person playing the actual drums. The time signature switch. What a ride. But eerie, those final words, attention all planets of the Solar Federation. We have assumed control. What a movie. I mean, music composition. April 1976, fourth studio recording, 2112. And that number, as you know, if I've read correctly, is supposed to imply that year, the year 2112, the futuristic idea of the Federation being in charge of this person discovering music. And you know, there's something psychologically powerful because it's imagined that we were in that type of scenario of a federation. Now we have in a beautiful waterfall somehow in solitude and peace found an instrument and we think it could help the federation and we share it and he destroys the instrument. I mean, it makes me think of the movie Coco where the grandmother does not understand her grandson's love for music. She's living in bitterness because she also doesn't understand what really happened with her family. And she crushes the little boy's guitar and he runs off and he's devastated. And it hurt me for him because, for one, it's not only about, no, don't destroy music. That is, even as the lyrics say so beautifully, that's the one thing that, what does it say that gives life? Hold on. In his discovery, when he shares it with the priests, he says, it got wires that vibrate. No, in his presentation, there's something here as strong as a life. Not only is music as strong as a life, it's this universal language that makes us feel things we can't put in words. It changes the message of an entire movie or scene. It changes how we feel. It is profoundly psychological. Music can be therapeutic in how it affects us and how we can communicate our feelings and how it can save a life, you guys. Music has saved some people's lives. A song that has made people feel less alone, that has brought comfort and talked people off the ledge. It is as strong as life indeed. So that alone would be devastating for someone, a group of people in control, to destroy music. But also, just to use that Coco reference, it is personal. Music, this instrument was personal to Coco. And there's, of course, a happy ending and a resolution in that movie. But there are things that are personal to people. And that in itself will bring despair. When you feel like, this is my instrument, I've discovered this is my treasure. It makes me think of a child who has created something or discovered something beautiful. And when presenting it to the parents is met either with displeasure, what do you have there? That's dirty. Or with, what is the word? With callousness and carelessness, whatever, I don't care, or is met with some type of negative response where it hurts, right? It makes a person, and adults know this feeling too, it makes you feel rejected. It makes you feel like you don't understand me, right? And that message is often reinforced from childhood on and upward, where we realize, people don't care about what I care about as much as I do, or they may even destroy it, not just parents that may intentionally or unintentionally hurt their child because they don't respond in a productive way. This could be peers, right? Kids being mean to each other and dismissing a child doing their show and tell and other kids are laughing because they don't understand what this thing means to that child. We do it as adults, right? On social media all the time, ugly comments and feedback where we judge people and what they're doing because we don't understand what it means to them. This feeling of something precious and not feeling safe, realizing that it was a mistake to show others or not feeling safe with it and then being rejected and it possibly being destroyed is a human, relatable feeling. Here, what music represents also can be many things, as I mentioned earlier. To me, it makes me think of the need for art, for music, for open-mindedness, for the willingness to learn, for the need for us to preserve history, for us to cherish things that have happened before, for us to understand that in order to have a place of peace where the elder come together to learn and grow and to have purpose and power, We have to find a dance between the old and new, the elder and music, that ancient toy that was found needed to be preserved and taken care of. And in the same sense, there needed to be, there was a need for advancement. And that's why I keep saying this song is relevant as ever, but from both sides of the coin. This is relevant for the older people, for past generations and older generations, not to dismiss what is new, not to say, hey, we have all the answers. And what is brought to us, that the thing that is foreign to us, is not just a toy that is to be dismissed and belittled. And in the same way, the newer generation or the newer thoughts and philosophies, to not come along in pride and say, oh, we already have all the answers. Because that's what the priests said. In their response, they said it's nothing new. Their response was one of arrogance. In the ideal utopian world, there would be this need for the marriage between the two. And it ends harshly. It ends sad, right? It ends with him being in despair in the cave and not knowing what to do, having speaking to himself and wishing that it wouldn't fade like that dream. I do think that is a relatable feeling as well, especially in our day and age where uncertainty is scary for people and we long for that idealistic world and it feels like it's just a dream that will fade, and we're confronted with the harsh reality that the Solar Federation has taken place. We have assumed control. That is scary, right? As a federation, a group of people, a person, anyone taking charge, we long for freedom. That is also an existential concept, an existential theory. Not only are we afraid of isolation and loneliness, we're afraid of death and dying in a loneliness, but we also long for freedom. We want the freedom to express ourselves, the freedom to explore, to be who we are, the freedom to make mistakes and be forgiven, the freedom to figure out what life is all about. And it's a dance. It's a dance between exploring and being free to express myself, but considering my neighbor, but not living in fear of my neighbor and just pleasing them, to now not be free to be me. It's this dance of, as I mentioned, individuality and collectivism. And it's profound to me how Rush, you guys were right, how Rush keeps doing it. You guys were right. When you said every song I listen to is going to be my new favorite Rush. I've said in the last few, this may be my new favorite. I'm mind blown once again. Thank you for being on this ride with me today. I'm intrigued to see what other songs come now that may bring some type of closure and help with 2112. I am absolutely mind blown. And I remember reading a little bit, or you telling me, the red star, if I'm not mistaken. That star symbolizes the individual against the collective. That's right. When Neil wrote this, he had been reading Ayn Rand, who was very individualistic. The starman symbolizes the individual against the collective. That's right. I don't remember reading that, but you guys told me something about it. That in itself is powerful from a psychological standpoint. To have a symbol like so, a star in a circle, right? We all want to be the star of the show, the limelight. See what I did there? We want to be in the limelight. We want to be the star of the show, and we want to be our own self, but yet we are surrounded by the circle of everything else. And that is a dance. Individuality and collectiveness, it's neither fully one thing or the other. If I'm just all about me and my individuality, what happens to you? And this concept of this is where I begin and where you end, or vice versa, becomes tricky if we're trying to be in relationship, right? If we're trying to be in a friendship, at what point do I give up my right for myself and say, okay, we'll pick your restaurant? And at what point, vice versa, right? When does it become an imbalance where now I'm losing myself to all of your wishes, or vice versa? But in the same sense, if we're all about the collective and we're all about the group, we lose our individuality. And now we're all conformed under the rule of the Federation, but we have lost our individuality. And that is powerfully psychology and philosophy right there. Trying to figure out who we are, how do we belong, how do I fit into this solar system among the stars. Oh, so much symbolism. Hey, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you on the next ride. Hey, y'all. If you would, just $1 or $2, whatever you can give, I would appreciate you supporting me for my Tap Cancer Out competition so I can go roll, support this amazing cause. I don't receive the profits. Again, what you donate goes toward Tap Cancer Out, who give their proceeds to the various beneficiaries that they work with so we can fight cancer. F cancer, man. And that's what I'm fighting and rolling for. So please support me. Subscribe to this channel. I'll see you on the next ride.